Well, 'tis the season of giving, and there are so many in need, and not only during the holidays, but all year round. There are those without homes, and that's what Paula Kaiser Van Dam is working to eradicate. Hi, Paula. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
We are delighted that you're here. Paula, will you tell us a little bit about the homeless crisis in Michigan right now? Some of those numbers.
Yeah, there was a report released in October, and last year we had about 30,000 individuals who experienced homelessness across the state of Michigan. That number was down last year, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But with a lot of the COVID relief programs that were put into place, we are beginning to see a slight increase in homelessness statewide.
And that is just an alarming stat and so heartbreaking. You know, there is a new system that is some great news. We'd love to hear about it to help identify unhoused Michiganders who live with chronic illness or disability. Tell us about that new system, Paula.
Yes, thank you. With the help of the Michigan Health Endowment Fund, we've been able to create a medical vulnerability index, which allows us to look at those individuals who are experiencing homelessness and have a better understanding of their overall sort of health vulnerability and medical vulnerability. And it allows us to then provide that information back in a very secure and HIPAA compliant way to the folks in the local communities who are trying to help find housing for these individuals, to give them a better idea of exactly what's going on with that individual, and then how to help prioritize the right housing resource for that individual given their medical sort of vulnerability or risk.
Sure. So why, Paula, is it so important to look out for this vulnerable population and really get them the help that they need?
Well, as you can imagine, trying to manage a chronic condition, medical condition, while you're unstably housed can be really, really difficult. And we know that housing is sort of the first kind of foundational basis for healthcare. We know that one of the most common chronic conditions, for example, for people experiencing homelessness is diabetes. So can you imagine trying to manage your diabetes when you don't have a place to, store your medication, check your blood sugars regularly because you don't have access to the equipment or the tools that you need to be able to do that, and then consistently, take your medication. It's just nearly impossible for that to happen when somebody is moving, either sleeping out, on the streets in an unsheltered way or even in a shelter. And so being able to prioritize those that have tremendously high medical vulnerability for housing will make a tremendous difference for those individuals.
Yeah, Paula, would you say that there is really a large population who will really benefit from this new tool?
Absolutely. And we think those that are sort of in our highest medical vulnerability risk will be the ones that will ultimately benefit the most, because it will allow local communities to really understand what what is happening with that individual medically, and then prioritize them to get them the right kind of housing with the right kind of supports that are going to be needed to, continue to monitor those chronic health conditions.
Sure. If there is someone who needs help right now, who can they reach out to, Paula?
Well, you can always call Michigan 211, but in your geographic region, if you're in Flint, they can call Catholic Charities. In Midland, the Home to Stay Housing Assistance Center. Bay City, they can call Mid-Michigan Community Action. And in Saginaw, they can call the United Way.
Sure. Paula, is there anything else that you'd like to say about why you're so excited and so passionate about this new tool?
Well, for a long time, we've known, at the local level, when people are trying to assess, the vulnerabilities of people who are experiencing homelessness, it's always been on sort of the information that individual can disclose at any given time. And you can imagine people experiencing homelessness are in crisis, and it's very difficult for them to remember all the details of their medical history or other types of history, during that assessment process. And often the information that's shared there is what determines what kind of housing intervention that you get. So we think being able to augment that interview with sort of real-time data that we have available here at the department will really improve that process locally and allow local communities to make more informed decisions about the right housing for the right person at the right time.
It's such an excellent new tool to help get people who are so vulnerable the help that they need. They are not alone, and we do appreciate you, what you're doing, and bringing this information to us today. Thank you, Paula.
Thank you.
Of course, you are so welcome. And if you have any ideas on what you would like to see on our show, you can send them to us at WNEM-4pmnews@WNEM.com. Just use the subject 4 p.m. News Spot.